CEO rejects twin girls born by his surrogate, but a billionaire fathers them instead. What happens when a powerful CEO cruelly rejects the innocent twin girls born by his surrogate, only for a mysterious billionaire to step in and father them instead? Backhand index pointing right. Don't miss this heart-wrenching and addictive story. Make sure you subscribe now so you never miss a twist. The hospital air smelled faintly of antiseptic and coffee, an odd mixture of sterility and fatigue. Machines beeped softly in the background, nurses shuffled past in quiet urgency, and yet inside one private room, the world was holding its breath. Nia Johnson lay back against the raised bed, her face slick with sweat, her fingers curling tightly around the crisp sheets. Her chest rose and fell with exhaustion and wonder, because nestled against her chest were two tiny miracles, her twin daughters. She hadn't expected to feel this way. When she signed the contract as a surrogate, she told herself this was business, that she would be strong enough to detach. She needed the money, desperately. Her mother's medical bills were piling up back in Atlanta, her younger brother had dropped out of college to work night shifts just to keep them afloat, and she had promised herself she'd take care of everyone. Carrying another woman's child, or in this case, children, seemed like the solution. But the moment those babies were placed against her chest, everything changed. Their fragile fingers curled around the edge of her hospital gown, their cries were no louder than whispers, yet somehow they filled her heart with a thunderous ache. "Beautiful girls," Nia whispered, pressing a trembling kiss to each of their damp foreheads. She hadn't even named them, she wasn't supposed to, but her soul was already weaving invisible threads of love around them. The door opened, and in swept a man in an expensive charcoal suit, his cologne announcing his presence before his words did. Michael Harrington. The CEO. The father, at least by contract. He looked every bit the corporate mogul his reputation painted, broad-shouldered, tall, with perfectly slicked-back hair and a jawline sharp enough to cut glass. But his blue eyes carried none of the warmth a father's eyes should. Instead, they were cold, calculating, as if he were assessing a business proposal gone wrong. Nia's body stiffened instinctively. She gathered the twins closer to her chest, as though shielding them from his gaze. "So," Michael said flatly, his voice devoid of wonder. "They're here." Nia swallowed hard. Yes. 2 healthy baby girls. Perfect in every way. She tried to keep her voice steady, hopeful even, searching his expression for some crack of emotion. But Michael only slipped his hands into his pockets and sighed. "Girls." The word sounded like an inconvenience on his tongue. "I told the clinic what I wanted. A son. An heir. Do they not understand the meaning of specifics?" Nia blinked, her lips parting in disbelief. "They're your children," she whispered. Michael's mouth hardened into a line. "They're a mistake. 2 mistakes." Her stomach twisted painfully, like a knife carving through her insides. She looked down at the twins, their tiny mouths opening as though they could sense the tension in the room. Her heart screamed silently at his words. "You can't mean that," she murmured, tears burning her eyes. "I mean exactly that," he replied coldly. "I have no use for daughters. This wasn't what I paid for. Handle it however you see fit, but I won't be raising them." And just like that, he turned on his heel and walked out, his polished shoes echoing down the hall, each step hammering into Nia's chest like a cruel drumbeat. The room felt emptier than before, though 2 lives had just entered it. Nia clutched the babies tighter, her tears dripping onto their soft skin. "Shush," she whispered, rocking them gently. "You're not mistakes. You're not. You're miracles." But even as she said it, fear coiled around her. What would happen to them now? The contract was clear. Once the babies were born, her role was over. But she couldn't bear the thought of them being discarded, unwanted, unloved. Her mother's words echoed in her head. "Nia, your heart is too big. You always take on burdens that aren't yours." Maybe. But staring into her daughters', no, the twins' eyes, Nia knew one thing with searing clarity. These babies needed love. They deserved a chance. And she wasn't going to let them be abandoned. Days passed. Nia was discharged, but she couldn't bring herself to hand over the twins to some faceless system. She took them home, her tiny apartment already too cramped for herself, but suddenly transformed into a sanctuary. Late nights blurred into early mornings. Bottles, diapers, endless cries. She was exhausted beyond words, yet somehow fuller than she had ever felt. Each coo, each yawn, Each fragile hand wrapping around her finger was a reminder that she wasn't just a surrogate anymore. She was something else, someone else. Still, fear gnawed at her. She had no legal claim to them. At any moment, Michael could return, demand she hand them over to some institution or family, and she'd have no defense. She needed help. Help came in the most unexpected form. It was a rainy afternoon when she stepped out of the pediatric clinic, balancing an umbrella and the carrier with the twins. The rain plastered her curls against her face, and she was shivering when a sleek black car pulled up beside the curb. The tinted window rolled down, and a man's voice cut through the patter of rain. "Do you need a ride?" Nia froze, instinctively shielding the twins. The man behind the wheel was older than Michael, maybe in his late 40s. His hair was silver at the temples, his features rugged but softened by kind eyes. His suit was tailored, yes, but he didn't wear it like armor. She shook her head quickly. "No thank you. We're fine." But the twins began to cry, their wails rising above the rain. The man stepped out of the car, holding an umbrella over them. "I didn't mean to startle you," he said gently. "I only noticed you struggling. I have children of my own." "Well, I had." His voice faltered for a moment, his gaze distant, before he cleared his throat. "Let me help." One night, as the twins fussed endlessly from teething pains, Nia and Adrian found themselves on the nursery floor, side by side, each cradling a baby. Exhaustion pulled at their features, but laughter bubbled between them as one twin finally giggled mid-cry, breaking the tension. "You know," Nia said with a tired smile, "I used to think love had to be perfect. That family had to follow a script. But now," she looked down at the sleepy baby in her arms, "now I see it's just showing up. Over and over. Even when it's hard." Adrian looked at her then, really looked, and something in his chest shifted. "Exactly," he murmured. "It's showing up. And Nia, you've been showing up from the very beginning." Their eyes met, and the air thickened with unspoken words. But before either could move closer, the baby in Nia's arms let out a wail, breaking the moment. They both laughed softly, shaking their heads. Still, something had changed. A week later, just as Nia was beginning to believe they could withstand anything, a letter arrived. It was from Michael's lawyers. Petition for full custody. Nia's hands trembled as she read the words aloud to Adrian. Her voice cracked, her heart racing. He's trying to take them back." Adrian's jaw set in stone. "Over my dead body." But Nia's legs buckled, and she sank into a chair, clutching the letter. The walls of safety she'd built in her mind began to crumble. The war for the twins had only just begun. If you were Adrian, would you risk everything, your reputation, your fortune, your peace, for children that weren't yours by blood? Comment below. The courthouse was a towering structure of glass and stone, cold and impersonal, as though designed to intimidate anyone who dared to enter. Nia sat on the wooden bench outside the courtroom, her hands trembling as she tried to smooth the wrinkles from her dress. The twins were at home with a trusted nanny, blissfully unaware of the storm about to decide their future. Adrian sat beside her, his presence steady, his hand covering hers. "Breathe," he whispered. "Whatever happens in there, we face it together." Nia nodded, but her heart pounded so hard it hurt. The doors opened. Michael walked in, his expensive suit immaculate, his smirk radiating confidence. His lawyers flanked him like soldiers, their briefcases bulging with ammunition meant to destroy. When his eyes met Nia's, they glinted with something cruel. She looked away quickly, but Adrian didn't. He stared Michael down with a calm that was somehow more dangerous than fury. The bailiff called the court to order. The battle began. Michael's lawyer rose first, his voice sharp as a knife. "Your Honor, my client, Mr. Harrington, seeks full custody of his biological children. While he may have expressed uncertainty at the time of their birth, he has since reconsidered, and he believes it is in their best interest to be raised within their rightful family line." Nia's stomach twisted. Uncertainty? He had called them mistakes. She wanted to shout it to the world. The lawyer continued, "Mr. Cole, however wealthy, is a stranger. He is not related to these children, and his attempt to claim them is nothing more than a publicity stunt. Furthermore," the lawyer's eyes slid to Nia, "Ms. Johnson is attempting to exploit her role as a surrogate to remain attached, contrary to the terms of her contract. In essence, These children are being used as pawns by opportunists seeking to undermine Mr. Harrington. Gasps rippled through the gallery. Nia felt the words like stones hurled at her chest. Opportunist. Exploiter. She lowered her gaze, shame burning her cheeks. But Adrian squeezed her hand firmly. His eyes told her, "Don't break. Not here." When Adrian's lawyer stood, the entire courtroom seemed to shift. He was calm, composed, his voice measured. "Your Honor, let us not forget the facts. These children were abandoned by Mr. Harrington the moment they were born. He called them mistakes, disowned them in front of witnesses, and left them in the care of Ms. Johnson, who, despite having no legal obligation, chose to protect and nurture them. It was Mr. Cole who stepped in, not for gain, but out of love. He has provided for them, cared for them, and already established a safe, thriving home. To rip these children from the only love they have known would not only be cruel, it would be catastrophic for their well-being." The lawyer paused, then added with quiet emphasis, "Family is not defined by contracts or DNA. It is defined by love, commitment, and presence. And by those measures, Mr. Harrington has already disqualified himself." The words struck deep. Murmurs filled the courtroom again. Michael's face darkened, his mask of composure cracking. When Nia was called to the stand, her knees nearly buckled. She took the oath, sat down, and tried to steady her breath. The opposing lawyer pounced. "Ms. Johnson, you signed a surrogacy contract. You were paid for your services, were you not?" "Yes," she admitted softly. "And the agreement was that, upon birth, the children would belong to Mr. Harrington." "Correct." Her throat tightened. "Correct. Then why are you here, clinging to them, instead of honoring your contract?" Tears filled her eyes, but her voice found strength. "Because I couldn't abandon them. I carried them inside me for 9 months. I felt their every kick, their every heartbeat. And when their father rejected them, when he called them mistakes, I looked into their eyes and knew they weren't mistakes. They were miracles. I chose to stay because they deserved love, even if it cost me everything." The courtroom was silent, the lawyer momentarily stunned. Nia's gaze shifted to Adrian, who gave her the faintest nod, pride shining in his eyes. Finally, Adrian was called. He stood tall, his presence commanding yet humble. "Mr. Cole," Michael's lawyer began, "you're not related to these children in any way. Why fight this battle? What's in it for you?" Adrian's answer was simple, but it rang with unshakable truth. "Love. That's what's in it for me. I lost a child once, my son. He died before his first birthday. For years, I carried that grief like a stone in my chest. And when I saw these girls abandoned, I recognized that same hollow pain waiting for them. I couldn't let it happen. Not again. I may not share their blood, but I share their future. And I will spend every breath in my body making sure it's a good one." Even the judge seemed moved, her stern expression softening as Adrian spoke. Just as hope swelled, Michael rose suddenly, demanding to speak. "Enough of this sentimental nonsense," he snapped. "They're mine. And I don't care if I wanted sons instead. They carry my name, my bloodline. And no one, least of all some washed-up philanthropist and a desperate surrogate, is going to steal what's mine." The gallery gasped. His words, selfish, venomous, hung in the air like poison. The judge's gavel struck sharply. "Mr. Harrington, you've made your position clear. And it is precisely that position, the reduction of these children to possessions, that makes this court question your fitness as a parent." Michael's face blanched, fury twisting his features. Hours passed before the judge returned with her decision. The tension in the room was unbearable. Nia gripped Adrian's hand so tightly her knuckles turned white. Finally, the judge spoke. "Having considered the testimonies and evidence, this court finds Mr. Harrington unfit for custody. Full guardianship of the twins is hereby granted to Mr. Adrian Cole, with Ms. Nia Johnson recognized as their mother of record. These children will remain in the care of the only people who have demonstrated true love and commitment to their well-being." Nia gasped, tears streaming down her face. Adrian closed his eyes briefly, relief washing over him like a tidal wave. Michael exploded, shouting, "This isn't over." But the bailiffs restrained him, and his voice grew fainter as he was escorted out. The courtroom erupted in murmurs, but all Nia could hear was the sound of her daughter's future being secured. Outside the courthouse, cameras flashed wildly, reporters shouting questions. Adrian shielded Nia with his arm, guiding her through the chaos. One reporter called out, "Mr. Cole, what do you have to say to those who think you only did this for publicity?" Adrian paused, turned, and said firmly, "Publicity doesn't wake you at 3 a.m. to soothe a crying baby. Publicity doesn't hold tiny hands or wipe away tears. Love does. And that's why I did it." The crowd fell into awed silence. Nia leaned into him, her heart pounding not with fear, but with gratitude. For the first time since the twins were born, she believed everything might be okay. Do you think the judge made the right choice? Should love and commitment outweigh blood when it comes to raising children? Share your opinion below. Weeks passed since the verdict, but for Nia, every morning still felt like waking up from a dream she was afraid would vanish if she blinked too hard. She stood in the nursery, watching the twins stir in their cribs. One yawned, the other stretched her tiny arms, and both reached toward her with sleepy smiles. Her chest tightened with joy. They were safe. They were hers. Adrian entered quietly, carrying 2 baby bottles. He handed her one, their fingers brushing briefly. "Morning, Mama." She flushed at the word. Not because it wasn't true, but because hearing it from him made her heart stumble in ways she hadn't prepared for. "Morning, Daddy," she teased softly, and his answering smile lit up the room more than the sun filtering through the curtains. But not all wounds healed quickly. One evening, as the twins giggled on a play mat, Nia sat on the sofa, staring at the fire crackling in the hearth. Adrian joined her, glass of wine in hand. "You're quiet," he said. She hesitated. Sometimes I still hear his voice. Michael's. Calling them mistakes. Saying I'm nothing but a surrogate. I know it's over legally, but it lingers. Adrian set his glass down and turned toward her. "Nia, listen to me. You're not defined by him or by that contract. You're defined by what you chose to do when the world turned its back on them. You stayed. You fought. That makes you more than their mother. It makes you extraordinary." Her throat tightened. "And you? You've given them everything. But why? Why me, Adrian? Why us? You could have kept your distance, avoided the scandal." His eyes softened. "Because I've lived without love before. And it's a hollow way to live. The twins deserve better. And so do you." Something shifted between them then, unspoken but undeniable. It happened on a quiet night after the twins had finally gone to sleep. Nia and Adrian sat on the terrace, city lights glowing in the distance. Adrian poured her a cup of tea, his hand lingering just a moment too long on hers. "Nia," he began, his voice lower than usual, "I need to say something. And if it changes everything, so be it." Her breath caught. "What is it?" He looked into her eyes, the firelight reflecting in his. "I didn't just fight for them. I fought for you too. Somewhere along the way, you became part of this family I didn't even know I needed. And I don't want to imagine a life without you in it." Her chest ached, tears filling her eyes. "Adrian." "I love you, Nia," he said simply. "Not just as the twins' mother. Not just as someone I admire. But as the woman who's healed pieces of me I thought were broken forever." Her tears spilled freely, her voice trembling. "I love you too. I've been so afraid to say it, because everything felt fragile. But it's not fragile, is it? It's real." He cupped her face gently, and their kiss, soft, lingering, was the promise of a future neither had dared to dream. Months later, the twins' first birthday arrived. The estate was filled with balloons, laughter, and people who had become a village around them. Nia watched as Adrian lifted one daughter high into the air while the other tugged at his tie, giggling uncontrollably. Her heart swelled. Adrian caught her watching and mouthed across the room, "Our family." Nia smiled through tears, finally believing it. As the candles were lit and the room sang, she whispered to the twins, "You were never mistakes. You were the beginning." Adrian slipped an arm around her waist, pressing a kiss to her temple. "To beginnings," he murmured. And for the first time, Nia felt whole. Backhand index pointing right. Do you believe true family is built on blood, or on love and choice? Could you open your heart to children who aren't biologically yours? Comment your thoughts.